1950s, our Prime Minister famously told us that we'd never had it so good. And as far as motoring was concerned, it seems he may have been right.
There are now well over 6 million motorists in Britain. Though hundreds of thousands take their cars abroad for their holidays, the vast majority remain at home. They need not be disappointed, for Great Britain is inferior to no country. Britain, it would seem, has been designed by nature for the pleasure of the tour.
The Heritage Motor Centre in Warwickshire holds the world's largest collection of historic British cars. And the curator of this fascinating place is Stephen Lang. How does motoring essentially differ between now and the 50s?
Well, I think today motoring is to get from A to B, and one of the things about the 1950s was that the motor car was taking off again after the war.
Yeah.
Motoring was more affordable, and people were using them just as a method for a day out or a holiday.
Yeah, yes, so you used to go out and say, well, let's go for a drive.
Yes, a drive and a picnic, a little spell in the countryside, yeah. All very relaxed, unlike maybe today's motoring. And the motoring was the holiday. It wasn't just the method of getting to your holiday.
Yeah.
The motor industry was really in a boom period during the 1950s, and that's because Britain had come out of the austerity of the war. There'd been rationing, and you couldn't get a hold of a car. But in the 1950s, it became a seller's market, and everybody wanted one of these cars. Many didn't have one before the war. They maybe learned to drive in service or that kind of thing. So it was a really popular thing to have during the 1950s.
Yes, very exciting. So presumably in the 1950s there was much more space in the roads. The roads weren't as crowded as they are today.
Absolutely. In the 1950s, about 1 in 20 people owned a car, whereas 1 in 2 people have a car now. So there was much more space, and driving was a much gentler experience, I guess.
The byways of Britain are never crowded, except in a few specially favoured areas, such as Cornwall or Devonshire at the height of the summer season. More often than not, the majority are deserted, except for the occasional farmer's car or delivery van.
What sort of wage brackets could afford a car in the 50s?
It was still a fairly middle and upper class ownership. Working class, you could afford it if you saved up, but it was really more of the middle classes. And those that toured Britain in a motor car probably would have been at that kind of wage level, really.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, the motor car began to look like what we think of a motor car today. It was sleeker, and also you had the influence from America, the chrome styling, chrome radiators, and that kind of wings in rather than separate wings, and the more carriage-like look from before the war.
And do you by any chance have a Vauxhall Chevette in your collection?
We don't, no.
You don't? Why was that, I wonder?
Well, we don't have room for them all, really.
I'm battling through the 21st century traffic to an iconic 1950s location where the producers have promised me a surprise. The Ace Cafe on London's North Circular was built in 1938. It was like the original motorway service station, long before motorways had even been invented. They had a car wash, a showroom, garages, and of course the cafe and restaurant.
Lovely, thanks very much.
But it was in the 1950s when this place became famous, or should I say infamous, as a hangout for Britain's emerging rockers who, before the days of speed limits, used to race each other on the road out there. Break 100 miles an hour and you became one of the feared and revered ton-up boys. But it wasn't bikes I was there to see.
Sweet, sweet memories you gave of me.
It's a Zodiac. It's an old Zodiac. Oops. It doesn't seem terribly maneuverable to me. Yeah, very nice. Oh, here's another one. Here's pretty colour. Oh, they're coming from all over the place. This is a little Austin. It seems much more maneuverable. I think they're going to crash. Lovely. Oh, very nice. Oh, and here's the Morris Estate coming, I think, yes. And that was to be expected. It's a Morris Minor 1000. a traveller. Well, they all look superbly well kept. Oh, an open two-seater. It's a Triumph, yes. Oh, very pretty. Very pretty. So I better take my... Oh, look at this. This is beautiful. It's a very stately looking, you know, the sort of car the Queen goes around in. 1, 2, surely I'm not expected to drive around in that. Britain's best drives in a camper van. Maybe they expect me to stay in it as well. And that's a boat fun.
One man, one wife.
So there they were, 6 cars, each a daunting driving challenge in its own right. It was time to seek some words of encouragement from their owners and guardians, starting with that enormous and frankly terrifying Bentley.
Which is shell grey and Tudor grey.
It's very smart, yes.
4.5 litre straight 6.
And is it easy to drive?
No.
House 3A Triumph.
Yes.
She's obviously manual gearbox.
Yes.
And overdrive as well on 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Right.
So you've got some additional gears to play with as well. It will be a different experience with every single vehicle, but you will enjoy it.
You've got to slow down to the 1950s pace of
Well, I
life.
don't mind slowing down.
Because
I'm slowing down anyway.
a car that wasn't too easy to drive in modern conditions.
Yes, I remember I used to live in a street where we used to play football in the street. And then every now and again, every half hour, they say, oh, there's a car coming. That doesn't happen anymore.